her.
Emma Iannico, Public Information Officer.
Okay, we're up.
Okay. Just want to request permission to, or whatever the word would be for that, to boost a Facebook post for the Planning and Development Subdivision Ordinance survey that's been open for a couple of weeks. We currently have 480 responses, which is really great, but I'd like to target Lava and Downey and other South County cities to try and get more responses from people in those areas. So I'm requesting a maximum of $50 to boost the post to target those areas, and yes, that is it.
I think it'd be a good deal. As we was out at Planning and Zoning yesterday, they were really tickled with the responses that we've been getting, just with their other surveys. They haven't done that, and so.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. So, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the request or authorize the spending request of $50 as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Mike, come on up.
Come on up, Mike.
Commissioners, I'm sorry, I thought this was at 9:30.
It is, but
Very good.
we have a lot of people at 9:30, and you're here right now, and
Awesome.
we're just moving ahead. We can be
Awesome.
15 minutes ahead of time. It's on the agenda.
Okay. So the agenda item, Christy, myself, and Michelle wanted to bring the source water, let's see, it's the source water protection grant before you for discussion. And I don't think that this is absolutely an action item at this point, but for us to consider it, for us to be willing, or not willing, but to be able to sign it and to move forward. I know that there's been several questions about scope and match, different things. When we put the application together, there's really been nothing that's changed. Probably the scope and cost is a combination of match money from employee efforts, both with Bannock County, City of Pocatello, and City of Chubbuck, categorizing that time, and then the federal, or not federal, but the grant portion of it remained the same. And so from the way that I'm looking at it, just from a surface level, and Christy, and I hear that Michelle is not available. She's out. Okay. You know, we don't see that there'd be any overruns or anything like that, so it starts to make sense. I know that there has been some thought, for discussion of perhaps with this grant, would it be better suited to perhaps look at, instead of things at a higher level, instead of looking at discussion and trying to come up with ideas for policy and guidelines to be able to use to making subdivision decisions versus, that's what the grant looks at, versus looking at something that's going to be more to the point of being able to fix items, identifying and fix items that are actually problems now on the ground. And so I know that I shouldn't say I know, but I've been part of some discussions that perhaps that might be better. And last time I had talked and visited, it was, let's bring it to a work session so that we can talk through this and make the best decision for the county.
And no pressure either way. We just, this has been sitting out here for a little bit of time. So we just wanted to be able to respond to the EQ and let them know if we're going to move forward, or thank you, but no thank you.
So I've been I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've been in contact with Carrie and let her know that we're going to be talking about this today. I did that a couple weeks ago. I've been in contact with her on the phone, not necessarily committing one way or the other, but it's like there might be some other opportunities, and she encouraged us to talk about it and see how we can move forward.
So I know groundwater's an area of specialty for you. So tell me why this is a good thing for the county if we went forward.
It's a tough question, you know, because it goes between personal, professional, and county, you know, ordinance, mission, policy type of things. Groundwater quality is important to everybody. Groundwater is a resource. Clean groundwater is even more of a precious resource. From a professional standpoint, in private practice, I tried to uphold that as much as I could. One way of being able to do that is being mindful and have ideas of what's being put on the surface that eventually percolates into the ground. Looking at it from a county missions point of view, or I shouldn't say missions, but what's enumerated and given to us as authorities is that we divide land. We make sure that land is divided according to the zoning ordinance, and that uses of that land are according to that zoning ordinance. Our zoning ordinance talks about all different types of zones, and in those zones they have different sizes, minimum sizes, and not maximum, but minimum sizes of lots, and then maximum densities of what we can have on there. And this grant is built around looking at developing guidelines and developing not necessarily policies in my mind, but you could go as far as policies to help decision makers decide on how land could be developed. I know part of the scope and part of the early discussions is that it was very much enumerated and given to me that we're not changing our ordinance, we're not changing our ordinance to address specifically groundwater and groundwater quality, because that's an effort by other agencies. But we will, if we do change densities and minimum lot sizes, we're going to do that according to what's best for Bannock County on that, just like any other county would do. And so these policies or these guidelines or these rules would be out here in the fringe, and it would say these are an extra set of policies that we should try to consider when making decisions of allowing development to occur in Bannock County. Okay, so right now, Bannock County, I think we do a pretty good job. We have ordinance, zoning ordinance. We divide land that has buildable rights. We allow the owner of that land to exercise the rights that they've been given by owning land and subdividing it in a way that best suits their interests.
Would you define groundwater for me, just in light of some of our conversations at our earlier meeting? Would you just define groundwater for me?
Sure.
As simply as possible, 'cause I think of like a puddle on the ground, but I don't think that's the appropriate.
So groundwater could be anything that is from a puddle to water that's held inside of like a greater volume, which is an aquifer. And aquifers exist all over the world. Idaho happens to have one of the largest, and in fact, maybe even from an argumentative point of view, the largest groundwater aquifer in the United States, if not close to the world. It is really a special place that, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but for millennia, water has been percolating and running freely into that because of the geomorphology that we have in this area. So as a really broad definition, in this case, groundwater is water that's found in the aquifer, and that is either pumped out of the ground or manifests itself through natural springs on there. It could be not in this case, but it could be taken as of lakes, ponds, rivers, streams, that type of thing. But mainly, in this sense, it's water that's pumped out of the aquifer that can be used for drinking water.
Okay. I guess that was my big question. Are we talking like lakes and streams or aquifer stuff? So it's,
Yes, aquifers more so, in this case, aquifers and stuff that would be, water that would be potable and for human consumption.
okay.
So this is a grant of $15,000 and the match is $5,500.
That's correct.
And you said that could be in kind?
That is an in-kind match, that's correct.
Okay.
So one of the questions from Michelle, and I think dutifully correct, is how are we going to get that match? In the application, we talk about in-kind services through employee contributions. You know, employee time to meet in these forums and to discuss and to bring the group of rules, guidelines, policies, however it comes to pass, to the deciding board, which is the Board of County Commissioners.
So I didn't really read anything in here that was binding from DEQ to the county. What's DEQ expecting? I mean, they never give money without stipulations.
No, that's true. In their letter, they have a letter that's addressed January 12th, and in that letter, they talk about the scope of work, and I left that on the printer, the full scope of work, but there's several paragraphs. But in DEQ is asking us to follow the scope, to meet with a facilitator to help us as a group come to a mutual understanding of what rules we should have. And at the end of those meetings is to produce something to Bannock County. During the scope creation and expected outcome, we tried to be very careful to make sure that we weren't requiring the county to adopt any such things that don't make sense, but we want to get it in a place to where we can start making decisions from a rule, guideline, policy type of level. Did you have something, Christy? I saw that.
And this is a sub-award, so they have a big grant. This is a sub-award of a portion of that. So this is just one minor piece in a bigger grant, where they're going to also receive some indirect costs. So it helps them financially on that side, but it also helps them achieve an ultimate goal for a bigger award of what they had received.
Well, since I've been in office, there's a group that has almost demanded changes in septic systems and everything else, which, like you said, that's not under the preview of the commissioners or of the county, actually. That's under the state. And so I don't want them expecting us to do something that goes contrary to state statutes and laws either.
Right.
And I agree with Commissioner Moser on that. I see this as a very delicate balancing act between property owner rights and the water quality that is important to everybody. And so I agree. I don't want to be opening the door for the DEQ to come in and do something that we don't want. But at the same time, I think you're right. We need to at least have the discussion and understand where we need to go. So,
Well, and you just summarized my conflict. And I don't want to call it a conflict, but it's like I am, personally recognize personal property rights. Those are given in the Idaho State Constitution, and it's not for me to waiver from those. But then I look at it from a personal, and it's like, let's everyone raise their hand that wants clean water. Who wouldn't? And so that's where you start. How do we bring these two things together, and what makes sense? And that was, I think, if I recall back in July, maybe even June, that is really kind of the things that we talked about. And I think I talked with this board about as it's constituted, and just, how do we bring those things? Do we want to be? We really should be a part of this, because we want to know, and we want to have an opportunity to find something that fits. We don't want to be given something. We want to be a part of that. But yet, how do we meld that with property owner rights, which is, again, extremely important in my book.
well, and I think you're right. It pays to be more proactive than reactive in something like this. So I think I'm okay, Commissioner. If you're ready for a motion.
And I would just say, from what you just said, it sounds to me like you would be recommending to move forward.
I am. I think it's a good thing. I think we should be mindful, and I think the board is mindful, by the way. I don't think that you're not mindful. Don't get that opinion one bit. But I think these are steps in the right direction. I think we need to, move conservatively and respectfully for what our goals, or not goals, but our objectives that we have enumerated to us as a county.
Okay?
Okay, with that, then I will make a motion that we approve participation in the source water protection grant as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 And Mike will work with Michelle on making sure we have all the information we need for the match portion and those requirements. For Mike's time, he'll have to document that in Nova time.
I was going to say technically that should relate some salary savings.
Yep. So when he does his timesheet, he'll have to document it that way. And then for the outside people, we'll have criteria that needs to be followed. Mike's been good with working on that. We have to do that with RV.
Okay.
Yeah, the RV
things,
park.
so.
Okay.
And the term of the grant is January 1 through December 31 of this year.
That's
Just
correct.
For your reference.
No, thank you, Christie. I meant to mention that.
You're good.
Okay.
My notes are still on the computer. I should have written them on my hand like I did in high school or something.
I think I got them all signed.
What's that?
I think I got them all signed. If not,
Thank you,
Commissioners,
Mike.
thank you.
Appreciate your time and your input on that.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
Sherry?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioner. Thanks for having me this morning. I am really just coming to, I'd like to give an update as to what we're seeing thus far this year across the street in my office, and just kind of a status update, if that's okay. Like to try and do things a little bit differently maybe, and we're still seeing on an appraisal side, we are still seeing pretty much unprecedented value increases happening. The things that are going on and with legislative changes is making it really difficult for homeowners. And there's really nothing that, as a state association, assessors are at the table and doing our best to try and help facilitate some good positive change that would work for homeowners, because thus far the changes that are being made really are just continuing to cause a shift in tax burden. Yeah, there's some new bills that are being considered that are, in our opinion, are really not going to be much help or any different. So we are looking at probably a pretty good increase in values again this year. Not quite sure what that really is going to look like yet until we get our analysis all finished up. We are going to have to make some pretty good adjustments on the commercial side of things as well. So in the last few years, we've really focused and concentrated on residential and getting parcels sketched in and drawn in for these new systems and all of that, but our commercial has not gotten there yet. Residential side, they're working like a well-oiled machine. Training has went really well, and we are in need of an analyst, and we've got somebody that's already been identified, and we've started training, things like that, so that we'll be ready to fill a position as soon as we can. Commercial, we're going to have to use trends to make adjustments in commercial, because we have not been able to complete the conversion and get everything sketched and data entered. So that analysis is going to be extra important as far as the commercial side of things, so that we can make sure that we are looking at different areas and land values and, you know, all the different things there, so that we can make it as fair and equitable as we can as we have to make adjustments. The law requires that my office tries to get as close to 100% as we can, but we do have a margin of a cushion below or above that 100%. We don't want to see anything be above that, but and so not to get myself in any trouble, we do have to try, but we're going to try and do as best we can so that it's the best for our counties and our county and our property owners. If that's not too vague. Sorry.
I understand.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to, yeah. We did just submit my 5-year plan.
This is the new 5-year plan?
This is the new 5-year plan that had to be submitted by the first Monday in February. That was fun, new learning experience. And we haven't heard back on that. We won't hear back on that for, I don't think, maybe another couple weeks or so. But the state does provide us, all the assessors, with parcel counts and just a lot of the data that we need to figure it. And then we fill in by the amount of staff that we have that participate in completing that 5-year plan. All the staff in the appraisal department in that side of the office outside of DMV actually does not count towards that 5-year reappraisal. If it is purely data entry staff and some things like that, then 100% of their work is not to complete the 5-year plan. And so that's how that kind of comes together. I came to some really good realizations about budget through that process. And so we may be looking to make some corrections or adjustments in the budget this coming year. One thing that was really a big thing that stood out was that I'm 2 appraisers short. And I was just told point blank that unless that we have adequate staff, that they won't approve my plan. So in the narrative, I had to address that, and we'll have to ask for 2 additional positions in the next budget cycle just to get my plan approved. So wanted to give you a heads up about that. I have that we're not making any major changes, but that's in comparison to 3 years ago when everything was a major change. These still feel fairly major to me. 2 new positions, things like that. As I said, residential is doing great. Commercial is our primary focus at this point, because we can now change our focus from residential to commercial. We are having some GIS issues, and I understand that there's new GIS
Leadership.
and staff. that's going to be fairly critical for not only analysis, but to be able to identify those commercial trends. Residential, we won't have to trend this year. So they are all finished up, and they should be in the next maybe week at the most. So their 5-year plan is complete, and we're gonna have the trainer come in and help make sure that our residential team can go over and help out on the commercial side. But we are going to need some GIS like assistance, and so if we could get some help with that, it would be much appreciated.
Do you have a different 5-year plan for the commercial and the residential, or is it all one?
Well, it's one 5-year plan, but it identifies everything. There's maps that we had to create that shows, approximately 20% per year are going to be reappraised, but that's just a reappraisal. So in the same 5 years, you have to keep track of new construction. There's permits, there's sales data, there's cost data, all kinds of things that go on outside of that are additional responsibilities.
Okay.
So
So if you have concerns with GIS, contact Brayden. He's been working very close. That department's done some amazing things already, so we're excited for the leadership that's out there. Also, the current 5-year plan, where are we at on it being complete?
that's the residential side of that's what's going to be
Within a week?
Yeah. It should be finished at this point, but I haven't checked in since last week. So, but I did run a report. I need to run a report, so sorry about that. Should have brought it with me. And there's basically just some cleanup to be done there. And then we have to run a lot of error reports and I say that because sometimes it's just maybe a category, that the system thinks it's illogical or something like that, and so it brings up, there's a lot of reports to run, and so that we can make sure that we are accurate and ready to go. And we are double checking to make sure that we haven't missed anything, because that's the last thing that you want to do in the last couple of months of your 5-year plan.
When's that the deadline?
It just has to be finished by the time we send out assessment notices, I believe.
What's the date on that, the assessment
Well,
notices? I forget.
We have to send those out by the first Monday in June. However, I'm going to have a hard deadline, April 15th at the very latest, to have all appraisal work done. So
Does that include your commercial stuff, or is that just all the residential stuff?
that is to include commercial, and we still have a good amount of that to do.
So, on the residential, and congratulations for hitting your goal on that, because it was questionable a few months ago. So
Ah.
great job getting that. How far behind are we on the commercial stuff? And in conjunction with that, how big of a jump are you anticipating in the commercial? Because I have people ask me all the time, as I'm sure you do, why is the residential stuff carrying the burden, and why is commercial not being brought up and all that? So help me understand that.
So residential we've actually been on top of residential for quite some time. We knew that it would be easy for months and months to finish that up. Commercial, we are looking at still over 400 parcels, commercial parcels to do. And so I think I'm just going to estimate around 150 of those are going to be bare land. And so that will be an easy task to go out and get the bare land, the site visit done for that. And so we'll get it done. But that's my probably biggest issue, is that we are still looking at a trend, which is not where I'd like to be.
So help me understand that. When you say looking at a trend versus an actual physical appraisal, is that what you're talking about? So you, on a trend, you pull up sales data or comparable market valuations and then just say, all right, based on what that was 3 or 4 years ago, we're going to increase it X% to get to where we're at today? Or what do you mean by that?
No, there's actual appraisals being done. However, we have to do the trend because of our conversion. So we can't get away from trending, which is, I believe, how it was done for the foreseeable past. We can't get away from trending until we have everything sketched and data entered into, and so that we can, right now, every parcel that is a converted parcel from the old system still has a conversion memo on it. And as we sketch and data enter those, we take that off and we assign a land table, and we have to point the improvements and the land in a direction so that as the analysis is done, we update the tables to get everything to market value. And so until those have been converted, the conversion memo taken off, and they've been sketched and data entered so that the CAMA system recognizes all of that data and knows where to point it, then we can't actually just put the data in and have it done by the CAMA system, which is basically a computer-assisted mass appraisal system. So we have to put all the data in as far as sales data, cost data, things like that. And commercial is different than residential. Residential will not have to be trended because the conversion is complete with residential. So all the data that's being input, and our ratio studies are showing that our valuations are going to be reliable, and like our values are going to be really tight as far as reliability and accuracy.
So can our commercial people anticipate a similar jump in their valuations like the residential did 3 or 4 years ago when you kind of went through a similar process with that?
Yes, because in the past, we're seeing some are really low, and there's a few that need to be brought down. But we're not going to be able to be really accurate like we are going to be in residential until we get that conversion finished. Now, there's significantly less parcels, so it shouldn't take long to get that conversion finished, but we won't be able to finish that by the time we have to send out notices and we're finished appraising, reappraising.
So that's why you're going to use the trends.
So we're going to have to use some trends. We're going to try and not use trends for as many as we can. And that data will help us actually, but that's where the GIS is so important, because we can have mapping layers that will show us where we have inconsistencies in our values. And we've been waiting a couple of months for some layers that have been requested. So if we can get those as, in a
would you follow up on
quick
that?
manner, that would
Thank
be
you.
really helpful, because I'd like to get ahead of that and maybe even try and reach out to some of the commercial owners and, just let them know what we're looking at.
Well, part of that confused me a little bit, because you said you're going to trend parts and not parts, and
So residential won't have to have a trend,
No, in commercial. I
but
thought
in
that's what
commercial,
you're gonna trend
the
everybody in
majority
commercial?
of, the majority of commercial will be a trend.
If we're going two different directions, that's where we usually get into trouble.
Well, we didn't have a choice in residential, and as we get the conversion finished in commercial, the ones that are not trended are gonna be, like, that's gonna be the best outcome, because,
So what percentage will be not trended? 10%, 20%?
I don't have an answer for you. I will come back and report on a regular basis,
Okay.
if that's all right, so that you're kept up to snuff and you know what's going on. I can bring that information back to you.
Okay.
But I'd be throwing out a guess.
Okay.
So, sorry.
It's gonna be a heavy item. I just,
Yeah.
so.
So, yeah, really my hope is that we can work together to minimize the impact of continued changes that need to happen. And I wish there were a better way, but
Like to wish, or welcome Commissioner Tubby. He just returned from Boise, left there this morning.
It's been a
Been
fun
on the-
day already.
Been on the road, so.
The legislature is in full swing.
Okay.
Any questions?
I'm good. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
yeah,
Sherry.
thanks.
Christie?
Christy Davenport, Management Assistant. Recently, I was doing some research for property tax exemptions and came across some instructions for applying for an exemption pursuant to Idaho Code 63602NN that was created by Cassia County. I have had legal review it, and per their request, I had reached out to Cassia County and requested permission to use their instructions that they had online, just changing the information to reflect Bannock County. And I do have an email granting me permission from them. So I just thought it might be a good information to provide on our website for people as they do research on whether or not they would be eligible for an exemption of that nature.
And this kind of came about because we had somebody in my office talking to me about it a couple of weeks ago and inquiring what the process was. And so Christy reached out and found that, and I think what she came up with and using theirs is a really good idea. And I think in my reading through it, it'll help clarify some of the people that are tire kickers and
Well, and
make sure they're serious.
a lot of it too is the problem that they run into is they don't understand the project scope requirements, other things that way. So they just think that, well, I already have my project halfway done, so I'm gonna go do this. And they have to understand that the setting of the base and other things that have to occur first before you move forward. So that's why it's important, I think, to also have that out there, is to make sure that people know you have to apply for this before you move forward on your project. So they can't set the base to determine that incentive program.
So this will go on our webpage?
Right, there's a property tax relief section, and it might just be
This is not so this is the one thing is we want to be very careful. This is not a property tax cancellation or relief. This is an
Right.
incentive program to encourage companies to come in and spend lots of money in our county.
Okay.
So we want to be careful. And when we did the ON Semiconductor project, it was about $130 million. We didn't waive that amount of tax.
Right.
What we said is, if you spend $130 million for new equipment to keep your plant running, we're not going to tax you at the full rate for a couple years.
Right.
And that's it. So we just want to be very careful and clear that this is not a tax relief, this isn't a tax shift, this isn't a tax cancellation. This is just, you're bringing in a lot of stuff to improve our community. You're not requesting more services, more anything. So we want to be careful of that, because a lot of people don't quite get that, and it causes a lot of hate.
So perhaps just in the general section of the property tax hub.
Yes, that would be,
Okay,
that
we'll
would
just
be
put
it.
it in there.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
label it as a tax incentive.
Yes, because that's actually
Okay.
what the act was passed as, and what is to incentivize companies and people to spend and do business in Bannock County, or in the state of Idaho, but specifically with our county.
Okay,
But if you'll work with Emma
Sure.
and then Commissioner Tubby on the heading,
Yeah.
Okay,
so that we get the right verbiage and everybody's on the same page.
okay,
Let's move forward with it.
all right,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Shanda?
Morning, Commissioner Shanda Crystal, Purchasing and Economic Analyst. I only have one item before the board today, and that is just to update you on procurement. So I do have a couple that I want to go over with. A few were added since last week. The jail has reached out again. They have their next project up and ready to go. They are replacing 2 HVAC units out of the jail. We're just finishing gathering up those specifications, and it'll come before the board for approval next week. The next one that we have added is a photography project that Emma is heading up. While we don't anticipate this reaching any kind of current bid limits, we did feel that it was a good fit to be open and transparent and consistent with our process to be able to run this like we do our other bids, even though it's not required on this. So that again, right, she is finishing up with her scope of work, and once we get that reviewed, and it'll come back before the board as well for approval. The medical bay renovation is moving right along. It is due next Monday, and we already do have 3 bids on that, so we are looking forward to getting that reviewed and awarded and that project underway. On the historical museum roof, I just wanted to let you know that I did update all the known bid holders on that, as there is when we got the timeline back from the architect that it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks before those plans were ready and drawn up. I just wanted to then touch base with the contractors themselves to let them know, right, that project is moving forward, and this is our anticipated timeline to issue an addendum. So we updated them as well. Last week we did talk about the flooring replacement project out at the sheriff's office, and that being our first completed project since we started doing these updates and having a review before the board. I have started a little bit of that and just wanted to make sure that I was on track with what would be useful information for the board. So if you go down to the second to the bottom one, right, all the way over to the right, I would report the budget amount and then what the awarding bid came in at, and then eventually the final cost once all the invoices get through auditing and paid, the final cost on that project. I would also report any major change orders or any findings, I guess, as we completed that project. Is there anything else, other information at this point that would be helpful, or?
No, that's good.
That's simple. I like it.
Yep.
Okay, I like simple.
Explains
you.
the so what in
Right.
30 seconds.
So my last, I just wanted to touch base to make sure that we've been doing these for a couple months now. I just wanted to make sure that these updates were meeting expectations. If there's anything I need to adjust and do different or remove, add, I just wanted to check with the board.
I think it's fun to see the sheet get filled out and get bigger.
Right. We do have quite the number of projects going on, and I only anticipate that more and more as we train departments on how this works. So.
Okay.
Very good.
Real
Good.
quick, Shanda,
Oh, yes,
on the HVAC,
Mhm.
I'm not sure how we want to handle that one because I told you the original guesstimate of how much it was going to be is not the 106,
That you were checking.
but the
with-
new estimate is going to be 106. So do we want to note that? I mean, we've got the money to cover it because of the other projects coming in lower. But I didn't know how we wanted to draw that line
To
for the
me-
sake of, I mean, for my sake, it's going to be different than what your sake is. So the 106 is probably appropriate.
To me,
But-
I want the budget allocated, though, to be what was approved in the budget.
Yeah,
So
did
I
we-
just had to,
Did we set aside in the original budget a specific amount on capital outlay project?
So it's not a capital outlay, but it's one of the projects. And when they guesstimated what it's going to cost, they thought it was going to be about 95,000.
okay.
But when Levi came to Shanda to talk to her about it, he said it was going to be a little bit more. Well, prices have gone up.
Yeah, in 6 months.
So
yeah.
we've got the money and we've talked. We've got the money for it, but I just didn't know where you wanted to draw that line. Originally, it was going to be 95. Now we're thinking it's going to be 106. Do you
Well,
want that noted, or?
Let's do just like we did on the flooring. There's the budgeted amount, there's the actual bid amount,
What was
and
the,
then let's see what the final cost.
what was the
is.
budget inside the line item amount? Even though that might have a line item that
Right.
has multiple
Yes.
projects in it.
Okay.
Even if it's say that line item, and this is a hypothetical, was $250,000. If that's where it's come from, just say that's what was budgeted in this
Okay.
line item.
Okay.
Because then that helps us understand in that line item where it comes, and you could even list out the line item next to it and say if it was, because if there's gonna be multiple projects,
Oh, gotcha.
because then you can actually see, hey, I have 3 projects and they all add up to the budgeted amount, or they're less, or they're more.
Okay, and I'll work better on communicating with you on that it's 95, but we should have the money.
Okay.
And we kind of went back and forth on that a little
Right.
bit.
And
but-
deadlines were tough to get on the commission page, so I just
Yeah.
submitted
No,
something,
it's all
I'm
good.
like, we'll
It's
fix
all
it
good.
later.
I just didn't
Okay,
know how
but
we wanted to-
95.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we
Good,
do
that-
have the funds for the 106.
And again, we're right in the process as we're going here on this, on how we're reporting it and what we're
Right.
looking like. And so this is just a learning, teaching,
Yeah.
how do we want this to look? And so that's, I think the big thing is just to communicate the silhouette of that very quickly.
Perfect.
And a guesstimate on final cost is 61,318. I've seen the invoice, but
On
it's not
the,
been processed yet.
On the flooring project?
Yes.
60, okay.
And I would prefer, I think like you, right, that it be processed and paid and
Yeah.
done, closed
Yeah.
out, and then we'll report.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. All right, that sounds great.
All right, thank you. Scott?
You made it.
I made it. Thank you.
Whatever order you would like.
Are you going for the Boy Scout look today?
This is our uniform,
hey,
sir. But I do have some green pants at home, just in case.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna start with fee waivers, and I'm gonna actually invite Casey up here first, if that's okay. So Casey is representing District 4 High School Rodeo. We have 2 districts that lie within our county that both use the facility for, to hold their high school rodeo. Final, it's not the finals, is it?
Ours is just our local club meeting.
The local
what I
club
do
meeting,
for.
okay. So, what we're requesting is a fee reduction. This year, our fees, we adjust our fee schedule a little bit, and so the amount of time that they use the indoor arena is about 12 hours, and then I think it was 10 to 12 hours, right? Which was the fee schedule price would be $600, and then the tractor fee of $100 per for that time frame, which would come to a $700 total. My request is to also allow them to use the arena number 1 as a warm-up arena. We would groom that arena, and so that fee would be waived as part of this, as part of their rodeo.
So they pay the 700
They pay the $700.
and waive
And
the
we would,
exterior.
we would waive that,
arenas.
the arena number 1, the use of arena number 1. And this is, like last year, they used the facility, it was $500 for the facility for the same stuff. The increase takes them up about $200 for essentially the same services, so. And we've talked about using some of the kids to help out with some of the projects that we have around the facilities as well, to help compensate for some of that.
Please call and help clean up the garbage. That's one of the biggest ones, is just, take care of what's there.
The other part about this is I'd like Emma involved. This is press.
Yeah.
This needs to go out, and we need to be advertising what's going on and things, so have contact with Emma, so that when you have things up there, whether it's cleaning up or the events themselves, that we get the positive press that we need to have in the area.
Yeah, these are great events, and we love having them in there. And so these are our kids from the county coming and doing this stuff, so we love to see them up there. So,
I'm good with it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the District 4 High School Rodeo contract as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Passes unanimous.
Thank you. Can I get your contact information?
all right, Brittany? I don't know, did I introduce myself? Scott Carler, events director. Would you please introduce yourself as well?
I'm Brittany Hobson.
So, when I presented our 3-year plan last year, one of the things that I really wanted to do was try to add diversity of events that happen up there, and this is definitely adding a little bit of diversity. So Brittany came to us a little while ago about possibly doing an Easter egg hunt up in the southeast parking or field up there. I don't remember what you call it, Terrell.
I can't.
The one that you guys did.
Yeah, my service project
Yeah,
when I
your
was
service
12.
project.
Yep.
And then it is kind of expanded out a little bit. So would you mind explaining just the event, and then we'll go from there.
So I would like to do an Easter egg hunt for past clients, kind of an appreciation for them, but also for the neighborhood, the Highland area. And we're planning on just having an Easter egg hunt up to 12 years old for kids, starting at 11 o'clock on Saturday, the 16th of April, so the right before Easter. And hiding just Easter eggs all around that little park area, all the way to the soccer field. So it's quite a narrow but wide area. And then I've asked if we can use the parking lot behind so that people can park, because if we don't use that parking lot, there's really nowhere for people to park, and we don't want them on the road. I've also been in touch with the Camille's Crepes, and she's said that she would come up and have her little food truck there, that she would give crepes. We were going to do the first 100 people free crepes, and I was just going to pay for that, and then just discount it after that. And just a fun thing for people in the neighborhood and people that I've worked with in the past to come and participate in that.
So I have a question for you then. So what happens when people show up from outside the neighborhood?
That's totally fine. I will
'Cause
accept anybody that comes.
while I don't live on the Highland Hill anymore,
And I've actually told people when I've mentioned this, that we want to do this, people have asked that. And I said, bring, whoever you would like to come and be a part of it.
my main concern would be is you're gonna have a lot of people show up for this. I don't know if you've ever been out to the Easter egg hunt in Ingham in that area. You want to talk about that, Commissioner?
I don't go to it anymore. There are so many people. My kids are older. My grandkids go elsewhere now. There's a lot of kids.
Yeah, you're liable to have a lot of people.
So we've got, I've got a lender that is wanting to help with this, and he has some Easter eggs, but I've also purchased 2,000 Easter eggs to hide. So I've got quite a few people that have already been willing to come and hide the eggs for me. And I liked the park that we're talking about because it's not just a grassy field. I've been down to Thanksgiving Point.
See, there's a reason why.
Could have been last year. You could have found that.
That grass was.
We're trying to just prepare it for this event.
Yeah, I think it'd just be funner for the kids to have more of a little bit of a hunt than just go out on the field, because I've been to a Thanksgiving Point where they just scattered them all over, and the kids just go and they gather them so fast that they don't, it's not even very fun.
Well, I would just say that if you're planning for 2,000, I would try and just be ready, because if it's decent weather, just seeing what's happened in other areas of our community, you're going to have a lot of people. Because I know my wife and kids find out about it. And I'm going to be up there hunting for Easter eggs.
Well, that's good, because I just feel like that's a fun event that the whole community, if they want to come out and be a part of, great.
So my only concern here is the crepe truck. And we have certain responsibilities and regulations that we have to follow. So is there a charge that it's going to come to the county because of the food truck? And if there is, then I want that covered.
So the key with the food truck would be that the food truck is responsible for
their inspection.
A set fee, right? And so that's, the food truck would have to pay that fee with the electrical inspection as well.
And what is that fee?
That's $250. Okay. So if they pay the fee, then there's not a fee for the area of the complex.
Okay, but that fee is a year-long fee, right? Is it a one-time fee?
That is a one-time.
That's a one-time fee.
They have to be inspected by state electrical inspector and other people. And so the state has really gotten mad at us lately. That's something that they're threatening to shut the power off the facility if we.
Oh.
Yeah, that's.
So when does she need to have that inspected?
She can work with us and we'll get it taken care of. But usually those are event fees, so if you have an event that takes 2 days, then they pay it for the one time for the event fee, because we have to pay the electrical inspection. Once that's done, then it's really, they're fine. So it's usually an event fee, not a per day or per year.
And that's why I wanted to make sure that we cover the food truck.
Yep.
other than that, county employees won't be involved
No.
with anything.
No.
It'll,
As a matter of fact, we're going to specifically not care for that corner of the facility for a couple weeks just to make it harder.
cool.
Just kidding. We tried that last year. Didn't we?
Expert level Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
Extreme Easter egg hunt on that side.
Well, as long as it's open to the general public, I would support this.
Yep.
So, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the fee waiver for the Easter egg hunt as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jason? Would you mind just introducing yourself for the record?
Morning, my name is Jason Anderson.
Jason is the president of the Idaho High School State Rodeo Association. Did I say that right? Yeah, state finals. So for the past 3 years, we've been the home to the Idaho High School Rodeo Association State Finals, and we are looking forward to extending that contract for another 3 years so that we can continue to be the home for the rodeo finals. We've talked about the different requirements and the different nuances that go into this contract. We've increased the price to $8,000 annually with a $2,000 vendor fee that allows them to run vendors during their event, and then that fee will go up by 3% each year for the following 3 years or 2 years after the event. A couple things of note in the contract. The garbage pickup and cleanup is always a big deal, but these guys are great to have their kids help us with that a ton. Every night they have a different district that is responsible for making sure the facility is clean. They do a great job with that. The RV sites, that they have access to will include the old RV park and the new RV park, and all the monies collected from that will be Bannock County's.
From both sites?
For the new RV.
Yeah, okay, because I thought it said the
new
old site
RV.
was.
So who's gonna book?
We will.
Yeah.
You'll book
We'll take that
both?
responsibility.
Yeah.
For both.
Okay.
So they'll
Because
be
we had double
responsible for
booking and
both,
stuff was a
yeah.
problem, and I just,
So just, I want to follow up on that. How are you going to book it? Since we have our booking site,
Mhm.
how are you guys going to take care of that?
So what we'll end up doing is we'll end up doing kind of a block, and we'll hold those sites, and then we'll coordinate with those guys to make sure that people get it filled. Now, there is the requirement that it has to be open to the public, so we will have a few sites that are still remain open, first come, first served. So
On the
everybody
new
gets-
site.
Yes. So, but essentially, and we worked really well last year with them. The issue came when people could go on and book them. So we
Yeah, the
lock it
online
out, we
system was
essentially
messed
lock
up.
it down, lock the system down,
Okay.
and then.
That's why I was
we-
just want to
yeah.
make sure you had that process in place.
Yeah,
'cause
we have
remember
a
last
pretty,
year,
I think
so-
we have a pretty good process for learning this year compared to last year.
Okay.
Thank
And-
you for the new RV park, by the way.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's outstanding.
Well, we're hoping to keep parkifying it. Just do me a favor and keep the horses out of there, because, when they start chewing on stuff, it's all fun until they start chewing on a power cable or something. It's like, guys, that's
No,
not.
we make sure that nobody can take the horses in there. So.
Or no, the one horse kicked, there was a horse that kicked one of the boxes or something, that's what it was, and it was.
Last year, I think that,
And I don't think it was you
it was my
guys.
first year doing the high school rodeo stuff. It was a whirlwind event for me. I think that was my first week up there.
Yeah.
It was incredible, but honestly, I don't think that there were many things that I saw in the coming year that have equaled the excitement that came from high school rodeo. So I look forward to this partnership.
along
I think
that
this is
line
great.
also, we're talking about a camp host
Yes,
this
we are.
year
Mhm.
that would be available to help people also.
Yeah. A camp host. So we would have somebody there that would be
All
a
the
camp
time.
host to monitor it.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
The other thing I'd like, if you guys could please get this out as registration, everything comes out, is please, if you have four-wheelers and you bring them in, let's not do knucklehead stuff. We've gotten really lucky the last couple of years where we had this one four-wheeler last year, looked like a clown car with like 30 kids on top of it. And, we've had, we're trying our best to make sure traffic going in there, this local traffic doesn't hit something. We had a horse almost get hit one year with like a 8-year-old girl was riding. I don't know how she didn't get thrown, but she stayed there. But if you guys would just, kind of reinforce those rules of, hey, calm down. If you're hiding your beer over there on the fence line,
Nancy's gonna pick it up.
Nancy's gonna pick it up, and donate it. But it's stuff like that. Just and we love having everybody here. And this is just it's an event, and there's so many people that are coming up there now, and it's becoming hugely popular for spectators even to come watch and see what's going on. And that's what's getting to be cool too, is you'll get all these people that are just locals that as they start walking through and seeing, they want to see what's going on with all the kids.
Yeah, we're definitely thankful for all you guys have done and this partnership, and we hope this is a long-term dynamic. We really appreciate what you guys do and what you guys have offered for us and the dollars that you have put into that facility. We've been going there for quite some time. I think this will be my 8th or 9th year there that you guys have hosted it, right? And what the dollars that you guys have added to that facility makes it a lot easier for us. I mean, we're a pretty big event as far as the number of RV spots and stalls that we need and stuff like that. We fill that place up. And so we do at our mandatory meeting set the law down as far as the rules, and we let people know they will be disqualified. They have to wear their back number at all times. So if we find somebody doing shenanigans,
good.
It's made very clear that it will get shut down.
Well, what was funny last year is there's some people that were on vacation, and while they were on vacation, I was up there digging water lines out and fixing them to make sure RVs had water. So we take that, we're all involved quite heavily up there. And like I said, we'd like to have it here, but it is a facility we just want to make sure it's taken care of.
I just have 2 quick questions, and they're just kind of procedural things. Talk about the horse stalls, what our responsibility is with the horse stalls and what yours, and then afterwards. And then the last one, Brian, do you have any issues with the equipment use on the tractors? Or, how do we verify that it's an acceptable user of the tractor? Do we have to provide any training?
we have a
Scott.
form that they fill out that ICRIMP is that many counties in the state use. So it's pretty easy, a waiver form that we have people fill out. The people that use the tractors in the past have been doing it for quite a while. There's some equipment that we have that we don't allow people to use, but the tractors we typically will allow people to use. And then to speak to your first question.
Yeah, just the procedure for the horse stalls.
Yeah.
What's your expectation from us going in? What's your expectation during the event? And then are we hauling everything out afterwards, or how does that work?
So the process is we give them a clean stall to come to, and we expect a clean stall when we take it back. Okay. So, and I would say that a large majority of the kids are really good at mucking stalls. And so we give them an area that they can put it away. We do end up hauling the manure away, but again, we deliver them a clean stall, and we expect them to return a clean stall.
Are we putting any bedding in the stalls, or is that their responsibility?
Their responsibility is the bedding.
Okay.
If you guys have sawdust show up on a big semi, please coordinate to have it unloaded, because I was
they
there last year when that
year.
happened, and it was interesting.
Yeah, we've typically, in years past, that inventory was already there, right? And we were all scrambling. I'll give Scott a lot of credit for somebody that it was his first year that guy was there. It was hard for me to beat him there in the morning, and he was there at night when I was there at night. So his efforts in trying to pull this thing together, it was fantastic. So,
and if I'm not in my Boy Scout uniform, I will be in Western wear this year. I did catch a lot of flack for.
He will share an ice bath with you.
I don't know if I want to share it with him. You can decide him. It's always a good choice.
No. I mean,
So too much information.
Yeah.
RVing, dry camping.
So
I
dry
don't see
camping.
anything here.
No, so the dry camping is included as an overflow option, along with the regular RV. So depending on how many people they have, we do have the ability to expand out.
Okay.
The only difference would be we have set locations where dry camping can occur.
And that's what
Yeah.
in the past, we've had problem in the parking lots
Yeah.
because of dry camping.
And-
I want it designated.
Yeah, we can designate exactly.
We need to
what that is.
put out to that walking path that goes around. People don't park on it. I mean, we have runners. I mean, that's the whole thing too at that facility.
That's not an extension of their
Yes,
RV.
that is not an RV. That is a walking path.
No, we've got horses off of it and all that, so.
One other piece
Trying to police it.
Sorry, Jason. One of the pieces that I forgot to add in here is that as part of, because these guys come from all over the state, having them help with some volunteer work is difficult. and that would actually place a big burden on our local kids here. One of the things that Jason and I have talked about is holding a rodeo for special needs children, where they bring in a couple schools and they essentially set up all the roping dummies and some of the events for the kids to participate in locally. That would give us an opportunity to do a good PR campaign too for this event. And I think that would be an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, that's set for June 9th at 2 p.m. So within our districts, we typically would have a couple extra buckles each year. Let's say that you have 6 bareback riders that could qualify to go to state, and only 2 of them qualified, so we'd have 3 extra buckles or 4 extra buckles or something like that. So we collect those up, and it's such a neat thing. We did it up there about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, and it's such a neat opportunity for these kids to win a buckle, and they have like a stick horse barrel race and rope the dummy, and it's such a neat opportunity. I get chills talking about it because it's so fun. All the high school kids come and help them, and
That's cool.
And they don't care what the buckle says, right? They're just tickled to win this buckle, and you just watch them. Their feet don't touch the ground. So it's a really neat opportunity. And like Scott and I have discussed, going back to the advertising dynamics, right? That we go both ways. When you guys have events coming, we can post it in our social media dynamics as well. We want this to be a long-term relationship where there is that give and take back and forth. We appreciate the fee schedules and the things that you guys allow us to do, and we want to make sure that we can reciprocate that thanks back any way that we can.
Well, especially with ISU having a rodeo team and their home office is right here, the relationship should be developed.
Yeah. And we have the National High School Rodeo Queen currently, and we had the National High School Rodeo Queen last year from the state of Idaho, and our national director, Brett Robertson, is actually the national president of the High School Rodeo Station, so for the whole United States. So Idaho Rodeo, we're the 2nd or 3rd largest membership in the United States as far as rodeo contestants and placings and how we do. So we are on a pretty big platform, more importantly this year as far as is what we have representation from our state at the national level.
Well, we want you to know that we do appreciate you coming here.
Thank
We
you.
do. We like the relationship. We know that things happened here lately, but
We're so
we have
thankful.
new leadership. We have a lot of confidence and trust in Scott, just like you just said. Work with him, make it a successful event. And like I say, as far as I'm concerned, we're grateful to have you here.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And anytime if you guys have time and can be there for the award ceremony or want to participate in anything that we're doing, please let us know. We'd love to have you there.
They always look at us kind of funny because I'm usually the guy in like shorts and a baseball
We
hat.
get you
and
the cowboy hat.
And,
We'll get
and,
the
and they're
cowboy
like,
hat.
who's this guy? And I'm like, yeah, that's
Western wear,
We're thankful.
Western wear.
We don't
Yeah,
judge. We're
shorts
thankful
and
to have you.
boots.
the only boots I own are combat boots. I don't.
Those
We can fix
are
that.
even better.
And I'll just say that Scott's pushed a 3-year contract, and we're doing that. We're looking towards that, but we want to make sure that they're beneficial to everybody.
Absolutely.
And I'm on the edge right there, but I'm okay to move forward.
And I'm on the edge with Commissioner Moser, but again, I'm grateful for the relationship we have, and I want to support this, so I'm willing to go forward with that. So, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve having high school rodeo in Bannock County for the next 3 years.
You have a motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you, gentlemen. Here's the signed contract by our national director.
Oh,
Okay.
well,
You want
let's
to
do
use
that
that
one.
Yeah.
one where he already has it
Yep,
signed, potentially?
use that one.
Oh, we have to record it and I'll get it back to you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Tom? You guys come on up. This is the junior high rodeo.
I'm Renee.
Hi there, Renee. How are you? Do you mind introducing yourselves for them?
I'm Renee Zollinger. I'm the junior high state secretary.
Tom Newman, Junior High National Director.
So, the week before high school rodeo, We hold the junior high rodeo, and it is also a fantastic event. I was not able to be here last year for junior high, but I heard that it was great. And so, very similar terms on the contract. It is just a shorter contract because they only use it for a few days. And so, the fee for the junior high rodeo would be $3,400, and then again, it's a 3-year contract that would increase by 3% each year. And then they would pay the $250 vendor fee, so that would be $36.50 would be the fee. And the one thing in our contract last year, there was a meeting where they met with the commission and they received permission to receive 50% of the new RV park revenues. And I've gone back and tried to separate that out to see if I could identify what those revenues may be, and I was unable to do so with the software that we have, and we couldn't pull the numbers out. So it is my request that we, of this 3-year contract, that we waive the fees for the first year, essentially in trade for what they would have received in RV monies for last year. And then that we just continue on, so that it would be a 3-year contract. We would collect for the years 2 and 3, and not through year 1.
So we kept all the funds from the RV park last year. Okay.
And additionally, in this one, there is a split of the RV, similar to high school rodeo, but not the new RV park. Moving forward, the new RV park is our revenue, and this one as well. So good.
Okay.
Same thing on the horse stalls?
Yep. It's just fewer stalls,
Right.
but yeah.
And talking about that, last year after the high school rodeo, everything was just put directly outside of the stall. There needs to be a place, more of a central location out away from the stalls so that it's not so tough to clean up. I mean, if you just take it out the door and pour it out the door, to me, you're not getting it away from the stalls, so it's accessible. You know what I'm saying?
Right. What we'd been told, in the past was if they cleaned it out and put it there, what they were doing then was just running the skid steer along, and so they were able to gather it up. But if we need to dump it in another place, we would be more than happy to.
Well, it was just
kids
the
do that.
expectations that were set before.
Yeah.
So we'll work together to.
I was on the tractor. Let's just put it that way. I was on the tractor and cleaning that stuff up, and it makes it very tough.
You'd rather have it this far away from the wall instead
This is
of...
right on the.
Well, it was just outside the door. I mean, it was, so if we have a central location where they roll it out there 20 feet or something,
Yeah, if there's a
it'd make it a
pile,
lot better for the crew to clean up.
you bet.
Yeah, and we can work that out, the logistics. I think we have a much better crew, more people up there working too, so.
Hey, I was a pretty good crew. Just hold on there.
That's not what I just heard.
That's what I did.
We did put you in the tractor that I couldn't figure out how to drive. You were great, so.
I'm good. Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the Idaho Junior High School Finals Rodeo contract as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor. There is another one. Sign this one.
I believe this is the one.
Do you know
here.
what? Yeah, it is this.
Renee
So
had
what
to
you've
sign this
got
one,
is,
yeah, so we're
okay.
good.
Yeah.
I brought one, but I don't have it signed yet, so.
Okay, we can just pass this around and have everybody sign this.
Thank you.
We have a
Thank
motion,
you.
all in favor, say aye.
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 We want you to know that we do appreciate you guys for what you've done for us. We've just, everything's just always been good for us, the kids. We've grown this year by 100 members. We're getting bigger and bigger too. But we do appreciate everything you've done for us, and, the kids appreciate it, and hope we can make things work. Tom should be the one talking.
No, you're fine. That's why I hired you.
Can we have them help participate in that rodeo, or the special needs rodeo? Like
Are you
we
guys
talked
gonna be
about?
around?
Well, so to answer your question, we are separate associations, but not really.
Right.
Like, you got the senior, the junior, and then you got the 8th grader and the 5th grader. So we have very few families that are,
Not
you have very few families that come to our finals that don't go to the next one.
Okay.
So You've
There's
got
plenty of overlap.
you've got a captive audience of return customers pretty much, so.
Okay.
But yeah, we do participate. I mean, we help them.
No,
Yeah, we're
that'd be
doing
good.
it. I time the high school finals as well as I secretary the junior high. I've done the junior high for 5 and the high school finals probably for 14, since 1 year after it came here, however long ago that's been. But we, this year, do have something a little different with junior high. We have 5th graders this year.
Oh, wow.
And so we're starting them younger, and, you know, that builds. So that's part of why we're bigger, but we're just seeing more interest in it. And then, I don't know if you knew, we did have the national midwinter meetings in Idaho this year. And so that was because Brent was the president. And so Idaho's becoming, you know, a lot more recognized. We had a lot more people here, so.
Well, we appreciate you and the time that you invest. We know that you don't get compensated except for smiles and rewarded. But, so that's why it's easier for us to have these conversations.
Right.
That's
Well, we
awesome.
appreciate
Yes.
everything you guys have done for us in the past, so.
Yeah, it's been good.
And
We really have no complaints being the warm-up for the high school. so.
Yeah. Nope.
Just hope the weather's good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Yep. All right. Kyle, come on up. How are you, Mark?
I'm Kyle Dahlke, very fresh president of Pocatello Downs.
And I'm Mark Hansen, former assistant with the Pocatello Downs, still helping Kyle get transition.
All right, so.
how long you been in horse racing?
Probably clear back when I was crawling.
Before that, he was there in his baby carriage.
Yes.
So we have sat down with Pocatello Downs and worked out a 3-year contract with them as well. The terms of the contract are the initial year will be $20,600 with a $1,000 vendor fee for use of outside vendors. We will run our concession stands during these events, and there is a profit sharing in concession stands and in the concessions. And then, as you know, we are taking over the alcohol stuff, so there will there's also an alcohol split in there that is after the cost of the product and the labor. So it's depending on whether we end up running that side or we end up contracting for them to run that side. That's still the split regardless. Additionally, it's very similar to last year. The impact with us is, so during Pocatello the season, they will have access to the upper stalls, and they'll be responsible for essentially grooming the track up there. We will provide a water truck to them on race days, and then water to help supply the track. And then anytime we have an event up there that is our sponsored event, we will notify them. We'll go up and convert the track, and then we'll help as best we can. Usually we rip the track with our grader to get it back to a workable condition for them so they can get up on their train. Aside from that, I don't know if there's anything in the contract. I'm sure you guys have had a chance to read through the contract. There was one issue that we had talked just a little bit about that Brian brought up to us in the hallway as far as a termination clause in the contract. So we currently have termination clause in the United States that it will be terminated upon breach of contract. But with this 3-year contract, it is his recommendation that we put some sort of termination upon like 90-day written
notification.
If somebody has, if the partnership does not work out, that somebody can terminate within 90 days outside of breach of contract.
That makes it a lot easier for me to sign a 3-year contract.
Yeah. So, I mean, and honestly, I think it's something that protects everybody in that case.
Yep.
So, was there anything that you guys wanted to add as far as maybe things that I may have forgotten in this?
Is it okay if I add one thing to that?
Yeah.
With the termination? So if we wanted to add, because we have the termination for cause language, which means if you breach, then we can go. This would be a termination for convenience, right? Would be the 90 days, probably before the scheduled event. You'd want to put some time to schedule there. So we wouldn't, if the commission wanted that, we would need to add that to it. So if that's a condition you wanted, we could just add it and then put it in front of the commission as a signature item at a future hearing.
Yeah, I'm okay.
If that's the route you wanted to go.
Okay.
I'm okay with doing that. Are you guys gonna be able to run this year then?
Yes.
We're going, I mean, I know, it was funny, I was somewhere out of town and I was flipping through the channels and they had the horse racing thing on and they were like, watch, it was old horse races and it was Pocatello. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, there's, Pocatello is pretty much the
Yep.
hot spot now for an Idaho, so.
It's the only spot, isn't
Yeah.
it?
No, there's still, like the Blackfoot Fair, little places like that, but it's the hot spot, it's the main spot, and, we've already gotten approval from the state. and
How many,
everything.
I'm a little,
11 days.
yeah, I've been,
And
I
I can
drilled
say
a
that-
lot in the last 2 days.
that we have really worked on trying to fill the grandstands with events this year, and these guys are aware of that, and so it does take a lot of collaboration for us to hold those events, then flip it back to a racetrack in time for them to run their events, then flip it back into a monster truck track, and then flip it back into a rodeo event. So it does take a lot of collaboration, and we're grateful for the work that we've been able to
But when
do
you
there.
can do that, and this is that symbiotic relationship, is when that happens, that's how recapitalization of facilities, but it becomes very, I mean, because then when it's getting used however many times and you have funds and revenue, then it's easy to hey, we need to put new grandstands in or we need to do something like that. That becomes a much easier thing then when there's a
absolutely.
lot more use.
Well, I mean, from my standpoint, the facility's there for multiple use, and it should be used by everybody, and everyone should be able to coordinate that and work together and get the most out of it. I will say, just being up there last year, Scott and his crew, by far, the best I've ever seen turn around from an event for the most part. Before it would be weeks to get close.
And
it might be the next morning when we show up, he's had it done, so.
So there's just two things. One, I didn't notice, I thought you guys used that covered building by the
covered barn?
stalls.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice that in this contract.
So, I get, that must be something, we'll probably have to add that in. So
Okay,
essentially,
we're gonna have to do some.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
just
behind
very
the,
beginning.
there's two gates that we've locked up right now, that has the covered arena, that little covered barn. And then all the horse stalls back there, and essentially all that area would be covered in this.
Okay,
So
I just
do
knew
need
it was
to
a
probably
discussion we
add that in
had
there,
last
yeah.
year, and
Yeah.
it wasn't here that I noticed.
Okay.
And then the other one is, if Scott and his crew come in and tell you to put a fence, or a chain down, you put the chain down, plain and simple.
Yeah.
It just, that's part of the agreements, that you listen to Scott. Like I told the other people, I have a lot of confidence in this crew that's up there right now, and they're gonna run it to the benefit of all of Bannock County. And so, if they come and ask you to do something, I expect it to happen.
Well, and that's the whole thing. And if you guys have issues or things that are there, and this is always about, like, we've had this conversation several times. I appreciate you guys coming and let's talk about it and having that conversation. It's always much better to have that conversation because we can normally figure everything out pretty simple, you know. And just please keep that up because that's something that the less waves it makes, the more likely that everybody's going to love to have everything done. And it just is, you know, and that's the best thing. That's the most beneficial thing for our community. So.
We're really excited for a 3-year contract. I know last year we were going into the season with some questions for the Racing Commission funding. It seems for now that issue subsided, so a 3-year contract gives everybody, you know, a little bit of assurance that this is something that can proceed and a little bit of planning years in advance rather than just year to year. Is the commission going to be funded? We can have a contract, so it's really good for racing, not just the Pocatello, but the fair tracks around. As Kyle said earlier, you know, we are pretty well the last track that's maintained that people can get horses ready and race in other tracks around the state as well. So
I do have one question. Last year, we felt that there was a difference between Pocatello Downs and the trainers like Mark, who are up there all the time. And I don't know if, does this address that? 'Cause
No.
to me, the way I read this is just people coming into race have access to the barns and stuff like that.
So Pocatello Downs, what we did last year was we essentially said during their season that they have control over essentially those stalls up there. So we won't rent them out unless we work out something with these guys. They have access to those stalls, and then whoever has those stalls has the ability to turn on the track. Our goal with this contract is to be prepared 3 years from now to have a tractor and a groomer that can take care of that upper area, and then the stalls would actually be separated out from the contract in the future.
So right now, Mark, and your use of the stalls is included in this. And then what about the daily maintenance of the track? Is that back on Mark and the trainers?
Yeah, so,
Yes.
yeah, so we will get it to a I don't want to say workable level. We'll usually rip it when there's high volume of traffic that goes across the track, and then they'll groom it back. But it is a collaborative effort to know, what we need on both sides. Sometimes we've had to go in and grade the whole track out so they can re-groom it. But yeah, we essentially help them to prepare for the responsibility to prepare for the trainers is theirs.
Okay, all right. I just wanted that, make sure we had that clear.
One other thing that we added into this one, or we changed this year from last year, was the office use. So there's the office under the grandstands that they have had access to, and in the past, during high school rodeo, they vacated everything, including that office. When I talked to high school rodeo this year about it, my thought is let's leave that office the way it is. They have a lot of information in there, a lot of data in there. And with the increase in the split in the alcohol sales, I felt that covered the use of that office for the entire year, not just the contract, not just the 8 months that they have races, but for the entire year. So it is our facility. They are leasing the office space.
And that's key, that it is a lease on that part, because we have other people that occupy our facilities all year long that pay no lease, and that's going to change.
So with the two modifications, the modification for the cancellation clause, and then change it to add in there the
barn.
The open barn.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just say if you guys could get that, okay, get it back for Tuesday. We'll get it signed on Tuesday then with all those, make sure everybody's good with that.
I'm good with that.
I'm
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
We're on a roll today.
Shimmy. There we go. All right. The next two items. One is the lease for Butters tractors. Last year with our leased equipment, we signed the lease for the year, and then when I was settling up with the guys from Butters, they said, did you realize that you guys used 680 hours of tractor time and you were only allocated 250, and it's $40 per hour extra, blah, blah, blah. My jaw fell on the ground for a little bit. So in this year's contract, but what they did is they actually did not charge us that fee. They felt there was maybe with the change in administration that it wasn't necessarily our fault that we exceeded that amount, so they did not charge us that fee this year.
Good.
But I asked them to please add it into this year's contract. So I feel like this year's lease contract is an accurate representation of what we need for this year as far as the number of months we will use them, and then the number of hours that we will use them. And you can see, so the tractor for the with the turf tires is the same tractor we had last year. Right now they're about 2 years out on ordering a tractor, so the tractor we're going to be getting to use this year was ordered 2 years ago. If we wanted to change that, there's not a choice. It is a little heavier tractor. It's essentially the same tractor that we used, the New Holland, the blue New Holland that we used last year. And so we are going to try it up on the upper arena to see if we can't groom that with it. From what I understand, it's the weight of the tractor that makes a bigger difference than the motor size. And so This one's gonna have more weight on it, so I'm hoping that we can actually do a little bit of work with the upper arena, or upper track, the racetrack, and that will kind of get us moving forward. But this is the lease agreement, and it is.
So if you're gonna use, is 600 hours and 300 hours enough?
I think
With the
so.
extra equipment and the
I
other
think
things
so.
you plan on doing?
Yeah, so the reason I think it will be is because, one, we know more. Last year, we were training people in the tractor like crazy, so instead of taking, you know, let's say 10 laps to groom at the grooming arena, we were throwing 20 laps on it, so we were putting a lot more time on them. Additionally, we are looking at ways to save fuel costs this year, so we're going to try to move and create a tractor pen down by the arenas, so we're not driving across the road 3 times a day. So that will actually save us time. I think it will add up. I believe the number of hours represented here is what will be what we use.
Did you add any fluff to that, or are you just making it tight and we're gonna make it work?
I'm gonna make it work. I don't know that we have the maneuverability in our budget to add fluff for our leases.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the Butters Tractor contract as presented.
Motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Will you let us know when you take possession of those so we can add them to the insurance?
Yeah, so they'll, he was just waiting for me to sign it and he'll get them up there to us.
Okay. Does Christie send you copies of those agreements?
She puts them in the agreement folder that we have access to, so we can get them. Okay.
I forget to go and look. I'll take that.
Okay.
And then we can get them on the insurance.
Great, thank you. And then lastly, we have, it seems like we're in a never-ending cycle of discovering new places to hide old property. And so we have found a lot of stuff that we would like to get rid of. As you see before you, there is a whole huge, well, I don't want to say huge, but a list of items to surplus. And those items will be surplus consistent with the processes that we've used. We'd open it up to anybody in the county that wants them first, and if not, then we'd look at the value of them and surplusing them from there. But this is all stuff that we found in the basement. So.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we allow the disposal of property as indicated, or as requested.
Motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Are you coming down at 3?
What's that? I will be down at 3.
Well, thank you. That went well.
Thank you.
With that being said, we'll be adjourned, or recessed till 3 o'clock.